How this tiny country became a global superpower without an army. It doesn't have an army, it's not wealthy by global standards, and it's home to fewer than 400,000 people. But somehow, Iceland has carved out a place on the global stage that many larger nations envy. While others invested in weapons and warfare, Iceland invested in peace, education, sustainability, and culture. And the result? A country that consistently ranks among the most admired, most peaceful, and most forward-thinking in the world. In this video, we'll explore how Iceland became a global superpower without ever needing an army, because sometimes true power comes from knowing when not to fight. A country without a military, by choice. Let's start with the big fact. Iceland has no standing army. It's one of the very few nations on Earth to completely opt out of military defense. And no, this wasn't due to oversight or weakness. It was a conscious and strategic decision rooted in the country's values of neutrality, trust, and peace. Since gaining full independence from Denmark in 1944, Iceland has never had an army. Instead, it established a coast guard, a small peacekeeping force, and strong international partnerships. The nation is a founding member of NATO, and under a bilateral defense agreement, the United States took on responsibility for Iceland's defense for decades, maintaining a military base at Keflavik until 2006. By choosing peace over preparedness for war, Iceland sends a message. It believes in diplomacy and cooperation more than confrontation. Diplomacy is their defense strategy. In place of soldiers and weapons, Iceland wields diplomacy like a seasoned warrior wields a sword, strategically, calmly, and with impressive results. Iceland is an active player in international diplomacy. It participates in global organizations like the United Nations, the Arctic Council, and the Nordic Council. And it doesn't just show up, it leads. Iceland often mediates in disputes, champions human rights causes, and consistently speaks out for environmental protection. Notably, Reykjavik hosted the famous 1986 summit between Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev, which became a turning point in the Cold War. That meeting wasn't just symbolic, it showed the world that Iceland is a trusted space for serious dialogue. In today's unpredictable global climate, Iceland's non-aggressive approach is more relevant than ever. A resilient population that doesn't need war to be strong. True strength isn't built in boot camps or measured in missiles. It's found in how a nation handles adversity. And Iceland has seen its fair share. The island is essentially one giant volcano sitting in the North Atlantic. Earthquakes, eruptions, and brutal winters are part of the package. Add to that economic isolation and a small population, and it's easy to imagine a nation struggling to survive. But Iceland doesn't just survive, it thrives. After the 2008 financial crisis, Iceland became a case study in resilience. Its major banks collapsed, the currency plummeted, and the economy teetered on the edge. Yet, Iceland responded in a way few countries dared to. It let the banks fail, jailed corrupt executives, rewrote its constitution, and gave power back to the people. There were no tanks on the streets, no martial law, just peaceful protests, collective action, and a democratic reset. Leading the world in peace. Year after year. Since 2008, Iceland has ranked #1 on the Global Peace Index every single year. That's over a decade of being the most peaceful country on Earth. The country has virtually no violent crime. Homicide rates hover near zero. Police officers typically don't carry firearms. Even in the face of social unrest or crisis, Iceland's responses remain grounded in dialogue and de-escalation. This peace isn't just luck, it's the result of thoughtful public policy. Iceland prioritizes mental health care, social services, and community cohesion. Its prison system focuses more on rehabilitation than punishment, and public trust in law enforcement is among the highest in the world. When peace is part of a country's culture, not just its policy, violence becomes unnecessary. That's Iceland's secret. Sustainability is their long-term weapon. Iceland may not have an army, but it has a weapon far more forward-thinking: sustainability. Nearly all of Iceland's electricity comes from renewable sources. Hydropower and geothermal energy fuel homes, businesses, and transportation. This clean domestic energy supply makes Iceland one of the few countries on Earth with energy independence. Even the capital, Reykjavik, is a global leader in green city planning, aiming to become entirely carbon neutral by 2040. In a world threatened by climate change, environmental leadership is power. Iceland doesn't just talk the talk, it walks it. The country exports geothermal expertise to developing nations and is a vocal advocate for sustainable development at international summits. And with the Arctic rapidly melting, Iceland's calm, science-based leadership in the region becomes even more vital. Iceland's cultural influence is surprisingly strong. How does a country with fewer people than Leicester have global cultural influence? In Iceland's case, through sheer creativity. Icelanders are prolific writers, artists, and musicians. Per capita, the country has one of the highest rates of published authors and artists in the world. Literature and storytelling are deeply embedded in the national identity, dating back to the Icelandic sagas of the 13th century. Modern icons like Björk and Sigur Rós have left a distinct mark on global music. Meanwhile, Iceland's unique cinema, fashion, and even cuisine are gaining international recognition. And let's not forget tourism. Iceland attracts over 2 million tourists per year, more than 5 times its population. Its cultural charm, paired with its landscapes and safety, makes it one of the world's most desirable travel destinations. It's small, yes, but Iceland knows how to make noise. A model for education and innovation. If you're looking for the blueprint of a future-ready nation, look no further than Iceland's education system and innovation culture. These two pillars are central to how Iceland became powerful without an army. Education in Iceland isn't just about ticking academic boxes. It's about developing well-rounded, critically thinking citizens. From early childhood, students are encouraged to question, collaborate, and create. Class sizes are small, teacher-student relationships are close, and equality is emphasized at every level. There's no private school system separating students by wealth. Public education is the standard, and it's free through university. One of the standout features of the Iceland education system is its holistic approach. There's a strong focus on emotional intelligence, environmental awareness, and digital literacy, skills essential for navigating the 21st century. This has helped cultivate a population that's not only highly literate, but also open-minded, entrepreneurial, and resilient in the face of global changes. This forward-thinking mindset has helped Iceland quietly emerge as a hub for innovation. The country has invested heavily in green technology, digital startups, and biotechnology. Reykjavik has even been dubbed the Silicon Valley of the North for its booming tech scene. Initiatives like Green by Iceland and partnerships between public institutions and the private sector have fast-tracked the development of sustainable solutions and clean energy projects. A perfect example of this synergy was seen during the global pandemic. Iceland's swift and science-based response was made possible by its homegrown biotech companies, such as Decode Genetics, which worked alongside the government to conduct mass testing and genome sequencing. It wasn't military might that protected the population. It was innovation, science, and public trust. Today, Iceland ranks high in global indexes for innovation, education, and digital competitiveness, especially impressive for a country with a population smaller than most global cities. In short, Iceland proves that sustainable development and human capital can drive power in the modern world. When you invest in people, they build a future no army can secure. What we can all learn from Iceland. There's something almost poetic about Iceland's rise. It's not the result of conquest or dominance, but of consistent values, smart governance, and community cohesion. And in a world full of conflict and division, that's a message worth paying attention to. So, what can other countries learn from Iceland? First, prioritizing well-being pays off. Iceland is consistently ranked among the happiest and most peaceful countries in the world. Not because it's rich, but because it has created a system where people trust each other and their institutions. Low corruption, gender equality, accessible healthcare, and inclusive education all contribute to a sense of national unity and contentment. Second, sustainability isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Iceland has embraced this reality better than most. With nearly all of its energy coming from renewable sources, it's not only reducing its carbon footprint, but also exporting knowledge to help other nations build clean energy futures. That kind of quiet leadership in climate action is far more influential in the long run than saber-rattling speeches. Third, Iceland's ability to influence global conversations comes not from power plays, but from trustworthiness. Its history of mediating international dialogues, standing up for human rights, and promoting peaceful solutions gives it soft power that rivals often overlook. It's a country people listen to, not out of fear, but respect. And finally, Iceland reminds us that being powerful doesn't mean being feared. True strength can come from empathy, knowledge, creativity, and sustainability. It's a country that leads by example, proving that you don't need an army to command global respect. In a world constantly searching for the next big superpower, Iceland offers an alternative vision, one built on principles rather than power games. That might not make headlines, but it's the kind of legacy that lasts. Iceland isn't just a peaceful country, it's a powerful idea. A nation that proves you don't need an army to make an impact. Through values like resilience, innovation, and peace, Iceland became a global superpower in its own way. True power, as it turns out, doesn't always need force. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't subscribe and turn on the notification bell.